Hi there, it's David Young, the Resourceful Coach, and what we're going to talk a little bit about today is putting, and we're going to talk about an area I think is the least practiced part of the game. I'd say 99% of golfers never practice this part of the game, but you're going to have to do it 100% of the time you go on the golf course. So it's the most bizarre thing, and it's simply green reading, okay? For me, it's the first thing I do with my lessons. If somebody says to me, I want a putting lesson, first thing I ask them to do is show me how they read a green. Because if you can't read a green, you have no idea of where to aim and you have no idea of the pace. And they are the two most important things when you putt. So if you don't know how to do them, or you have no idea what you need to do on that particular putt, it's near enough impossible to get the result you want. Now, if you've watched my videos before on green reading, we're going to talk a lot about gravity. Gravity is your best friend, okay, when you're putting. And simply the ball is always going to look to find the lowest point. And as that ball runs out of energy, that's the way it's going to go. So here's our first thing I want you to do, okay? I'm going to show you how we're going to use this plank in a little while. Just pop that down there in a second. Okay, what I want you to do, go to the putting green. All of you will probably have a putting green at your golf course. I'm using the third green here at Corinthians because it's got a bit of a slope on it, and it will show exactly what I want you to learn. And the first thing I want you to learn is if you filled that hole up with water, if we came to this hole and we had a massive, we could stick a hose in that water and it started overflowing, where do you think the water would run? Okay, that's our first thing that we're looking for. Where's the water going to run? Because that's where the ball is always going to want to go. If the water's going that way, your ball's going to go that way. So take a little bit of time, go up to the hole, and one of the little exercises I used to do, I don't use this so much now, is you get a rough idea. You think, well, it might be somewhere around this area here, okay, is where that's going to be. It's just sort of give yourself an equal distance, maybe go about 6-7 feet from the hole, and just keep a constant circle. So stay 6-7 feet and just walk. And what I'm finding is it feels now, as I get to about here, it feels like I'm starting to go uphill, which suggests the low point has to be back here. So I'll turn round, I'll come back again, and I'll go there. Now I feel like I'm going uphill again there. So here's our first thing. I think the low point is here. And remember, you're learning how to read a green. So this is a process. This is an area you're going through. Let me just get that ball back where I was. So I'm not expecting you get it like bang, straight away. If you do, fantastic. Okay, so here's the second step. You've got that idea. You just put a ball down around about 6-7 feet from the hole. Okay, make sure there's nothing in the way. Got winter time this time, leaves and stuff around. It's just have a putt and just aim straight up the hill. And just pay attention to what it does. If it runs straight up the hill, goes in the hole, okay, that didn't move, I think I hit it there, take another ball. All right, this might take you a couple of minutes to work out where that low point is. Okay, so that's good. So this is where our plank of wood now comes in. I now know wherever I putt from on this green, the water is going to run and the ball is going to run this way. Okay, so I've put that plank of wood in just to remind me. And what we're going to do as we go through this lesson, we're going to look around the whole hole and how that's going to affect it. So here's the good thing. If you turn up to the green and you can learn just that one thing, find out where the water goes, straight away you've read 2 putts that you're going to get in a round of golf. You now know which is the straight uphill putt, which is this one. And if we go the other side of the hole, if the green is consistent, and the greenkeeper hasn't been nasty and put it in a really weird position, we put the ball there, this should be a straight downhill putt. Let's see what happens. We're on a little bit of a bank here, but if I put that straight down the hill, yeah, you can see it hardly moved. So straight away you've learned what I call your 6 o'clock and your 12 o'clock position. And that's what we're going to look at as we go round here, how that's going to affect the shot. And we're going to look at it from different angles so you understand what the ball is going to do. So what we're going to do now, we're going to go to what I call the maximum putt. The putt that's going to break the most. If they were the straight putts, that should be over this side what we call the 3 o'clock position. 6 o'clock, 12 o'clock. We're going to set the camera up now to watch a 3 o'clock position so you understand how that's going to affect the putt. So we've come to what I call the 3 o'clock position. We've put a alignment stick on there as well. So we've got our plank of wood showing us that straight uphill putt. That's the 6 o'clock. And then there's our alignment stick showing us 12 o'clock, just to get a visual aid for you to understand what's going on. And I've come to that central point and I've paced out about 6 paces. So I'm about 15 feet from the hole. And the only thing I'm going to show you here is my water idea correct? Okay, so the first putt, what I'm going to do, I'm going to aim at the hole, dead straight. What should happen is this ball, if I've read it correctly, should start to turn left of the hole. You can see it starting to break. And I probably started that fractionally right of the hole, if I'm honest. Okay, so let's see if I can actually start one dead straight. That's dead straight, and you can see it turning that way. Okay, hit the other ball, but that would have probably broken about a foot. And that's the first thing I want you to do. Just confirm in your mind that you now know that that is where the ball's going to go. That's where the water's going to go. And if you putt from around about 15 feet, as I said earlier, unless the greenkeeper's been quite nasty and found a lot of slopes, you'll probably find it's quite a consistent slope on the green. As soon as you go 20 feet and more, you might get double breakers. Okay, we're not going to talk about that today, but we're just talking about the basic idea of reading that green, understanding what to do. So I've done 2 balls, I've aimed straight, they've both ended up left of the hole. So now it's that mindset that when I play it, I now need to physically think, well, I've got to aim to the right of the hole for the slope to bring it round. Okay, awesome day here, we've got a bit of leaf. So I'm just going to take one of those balls and I've put it 2 hole widths to the side. Okay, that's roughly what I saw it do when I hit it straight at the hole. And it's just a guideline to start with. We're just getting the idea of how gravity is affecting the ball. So now my mindset is to say, right, I want to aim at that ball. And again, it's just a mental thing I'm picking up. Then as I putt to that ball, there, the ball, you can see it turning towards the hole. And that's bang on line. I've just not hit it, okay? I mean, I've ended up probably 2 hole widths short of the hole. But hopefully what you're seeing is the idea that we're saying. Now, it's going to break around about that 8 inches from this position. That's a better stroke. And that's just hit the left lip of the hole. But you can see the idea of what we're doing. So automatically you're learning one thing. Where's the ball going to go? Now, let's talk about this 3 o'clock position because we're going to start to go round the clock face. If we put another alignment stick in, just at this position here, okay, and that's our 3 o'clock. And what I'm going to say, people go, really? I call this the flat putt. And what I mean by that, I'm not really putting uphill, I'm not really putting downhill. I'm putting slightly into the hill for that 8 inches of break, and then it's going to start to come down the hill at the end. So I always think this is what I call the flat putt. I'm not going to hit it harder because it's going uphill, I'm not hitting it harder because it's going downhill. So mentally, I've got 2 bits that are important here. Because I've arrived at 3 o'clock, my brain says, great, I know it's going to break right to left, because the low point is 6 o'clock over here, and I know I'm at the what I call the flat putt, so I don't have to hit it harder or softer. But as we go round the clock face, that changes. That's really important to understand. So if I now take my balls and let's put them at, well, let's call it 4:30. Okay, so we'll go 6 paces from the hole, so we keep that consistency. We're going to smack in the middle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay? And what I'm going to do now, just, I think the camera's not in a great position, let's just move the camera over so you can get a better idea what it's going to do. So if we think about a clock face, and you think about the 6 o'clock at the bottom of the clock, 12 o'clock at the top, 3 o'clock, as I'm imagining, let's turn around this way, 3 o'clock is over here. If I'm now at 4:30, that's now got to be an uphill putt. So straight away, mentally, you're thinking, I've got to hit this a little bit harder for the same length of putt that we had, okay? I apologise, it's really getting quite windy out here if you're getting a bit of noise on the camera there, on the microphone, okay? So I now know this is a slightly uphill putt. So mentally now, I've got to think I've got to hit it fractionally harder, all right? These things will instinctively happen if you use this clock face idea. Second thing is, 6 o'clock was dead straight. That had about 8 inches of break. You don't need to use my perfect clock face idea, but we will put it on the screen, okay, for you. But even if you just half the amount, even now if you think that's 4 inches of break, it's got to be less. That's the maximum break, because that's the midpoint between the 2 0 putts, okay? So now if I'm putting from here, I think, well, I'll aim about a hole to the right, going slightly up the hill. Let's see if it moves. The main thing is, does it move to that plank? Okay, and you can see it perfect. I'm just struggling a little bit with the pace today. The greens are a little bit damp. Let's give it a little bit more. But that was bang on line. Started it out there. Yeah, same again. You think I'd learn, wouldn't you? Okay, but what are the balls doing? They're all moving to the plank. They're all going that way. So we now know we're reading that green correctly, but because of what I've learned through the putts, and because remember it was uphill, the first few I didn't make that adjustment straight away, look at where the balls have ended up. They've all ended up within, or the worst is a foot from the hole. So I'm never going to 3-putt. That's the great thing, inside 15 feet. Because your brain is starting to register how this will affect the shot as you play as you go through. So the same thing would happen if we went over to say 7 o'clock, 7:30, we're still going up that hill. So here's our break it down. 6 o'clock is dead straight, 3 o'clock is the maximum break. Anything in this area here, what I call the 6 to 3 o'clock, has to be uphill, and because the piece of wood is over there, it has to be a right to left breaking putt. Okay, I hope that all makes sense. But if you go to the practice green, put a few alignment sticks down, give yourself that idea. So what would happen if I go into that slot, what I call the 12 to 3 o'clock slot? Because the plank of wood is to the left, it's still going to be a right to left putt. So anything on the 3 o'clock side has to be a right to left putt, because the plank of wood is to the left of us. Okay, but now it's downhill. Now this is really important. When you have a downhill putt, you have to hit it softer. So the relative amount of break, if we were putting say from 430 here, and now you're putting from 130, which is the similar position, the midway point, the downhill putt, even though it's going quicker, will always break more. Because you've got to hit it softer for the slope to affect it. When you hit the ball harder, the slope won't affect it as much. And it's approximately 20% more break than what you would get from this position. Okay, so if we've read that as an 8-inch break there and then only 4 inches here, that's going to be around about 6 inches of break. All right, I'm going to move the camera around a lot today, so you'll have to sort of bear with me, but you'll get the idea of what we're doing as we go through this. Okay, so we've got that camera set up. Let's see if that idea works. Again, the one thing we want to see that we're correct, and again, it's just physics. What is it going to do? That ball has to go right to left, because there's our big plank of wood. Okay? Everything's going to move that way. And as long as it does, that's your biggest thing you're learning. But again, I've got to aim to the right of the hole, because it's going to turn that way. And then it will start to drop down the hill towards the plank of wood. Okay, that one I just went a little bit high, but because I've got that idea and I'm now working on the speed, just that little bit softer, okay, what's happening is, look where the balls are ending up, stone dead every time. Yeah, I'd love to hold them, but I always think the worst case scenario from here is 3 putting. And if you get this, you will eliminate 3 putts. That's got a chance, okay? So out of my 4 putts, you could see what the ball was doing. It was turning down that hill, always going to this plank of wood. Doesn't matter where we putt on this green, everything's going to turn that way. And that's really important. And that's why it's so important when you go to the green, read the putt from the hole back to your ball. Okay, I'm now going to create a random putt on this green and go through how I read a green, having now known that that's the low point, and we'll do a completely different, we'll go the other side of the hole. All right, so we get the idea of what we're doing. So let's just chuck a ball over here, we'll make it a bit longer. Now, we had roughly a 15-foot putt, and it broke around about 4 or 5 inches from that position. If we look at it now, 6 o'clock is here, 12 o'clock is there, that would be the 9 o'clock. So I'm coming from about 8 o'clock. So the first thing I want you to ask yourself, is that uphill or downhill? It's going to be fractionally uphill because I'm below the 9 o'clock position. Okay, that's the first thing. So I've got to hit this putt a little bit harder. From the position we had, it broke around about 8 inches from 6 paces. So it's just over a 1% slope. So I'm going to pace this out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 paces. As I said, I just threw the ball at random. We're 9 paces away. So in theory, if I was at the maximum break, which would be here, okay, then that would break around about a foot. This is going to break a little bit less than that. We're talking around about 75% of that. So this is going to break about 8 to 9 inches from left to right. So I'm now going to aim 8 to 9 inches left of the hole. I'm going to hit it a little bit harder because it's uphill, and just let my instincts take over to work on that idea. But again, if you watch the ball, look where it's going, towards the red thing. Now, because it's a bit longer, I actually think there's a little bit of a slope here, but I'm not going to worry about that. That's something we can talk about on another day. But again, get it up that left side. There. See, I'm going too straight. Look where it's going there. Every time to the plank of wood. Brilliant. That's just confirming in my mind I've read the green correctly. Just today, I'm not making the best putts in the world. Good. That's a lot higher. Okay, so why did that ball not break in time? Because I hit it too hard. All right, and that's really important to understand. So those balls are perfect weight. That ball has run 3.5 feet past. But look where it ended up. I actually got the line correct on that one. It's ended up directly behind the hole. If I'd hit it at that weight, chances are that would have gone in the hole. Okay, so again, I'm learning all the time. I'm never in a rush to sort of think, oh, I should be holding these putts. I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, okay, every time I'm learning. So let's see if we can now put all those ideas together. Oh, got a little bit of a winter bobble there. Okay, so again, that wind has really picked up, so you might be getting that on the microphone. So we're going to sort of break this down very, very simply. Okay, number one, go to the green, find that 6 o'clock position. And you may have a putting green that's quite flat, so that might be a little bit tricky to do. So if you have got the opportunity, and I know a lot of courses don't like what I'm about to say, but if you go out maybe one evening and there's nobody about, just stop on one of the greens. You're not going to damage it. You're not going to do any damage. And as long as you're not holding anybody up, you're fine. And just maybe with a few tee pegs, just mark out in your mind where you think the 6 o'clock position would be and see if you're starting to learn that idea. Everything's running that way. But as I said, how many of you go to the putting green and all you do is have half a dozen putts before you go out and then you expect to putt brilliantly? Yet what do you do week in, week out? You go to the driving range and hit 50 balls with your driver to see if you can get that better. If you want to improve your putting, you have to start with your green reading. Green reading is number one, because straight away, as I said right at the start of the video, you will start to understand when you're putting uphill, you're putting right to left, left to right, downhill, all those things. And it's amazing how quick your brain, when you walk onto a green, will go, oh, I'm 6 o'clock, that's a straight uphill putt. I'm 9 o'clock, oh, that's a right to left putt with no extra weight. Oh, I'm putting from 1 o'clock, that's downhill, and I've got to allow a movement from right to left. You will make those decisions very, very quickly. And if you buy into this idea and get this idea working, I'll guarantee you will start reading a green quicker than you've ever read it. And unfortunately, if you're one of those people who doesn't read the green, it's going to make a massive difference to your game, because if you're not reading greens, the chances are you're going to aim pretty straight at the hole and the ball is always going to go to the low point. If it does and you get the weight right, well, good news is you're going to have a straight uphill putt with your next one, but that could be 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot, 4 foot, depending on how much break you get. So this is probably an area of the game, you probably say in my voice, quite passionate about. I want to see you guys get onto the practice putting green, start to practice your green reading. Okay, if you're taking more than 36 putts in a round of golf, this is the one thing I'll guarantee you do it correctly, you won't be taking over 36 putts. You won't be 3-putting. Even today, where I haven't holed many putts, look how they've all ended up close enough, they're just tap-ins. Every now and again you get the line right, you hole a putt. Okay, but also realise through my data, as an amateur golfer, from 15 feet, for example, you are only going to hole maybe 5% of those putts, 1 in 20. 20 feet is your average 2-putt. And from 4 or 5 feet, that's your average 50-50. So realise you're not going to hole lots of putts. You've got to realise, get that first putt as close as you can And green reading is the #1 thing that will help you do it. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. It's going through, as I said, green reading for me, the #1 thing you need to do to be good at putting. If you do that, your line and your speed will only improve. If you have enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel, share this with your friends. There's a little bell on that screen. If you do subscribe, press it, it'll give you notifications for my videos. And I look to get videos out at least 2 a week, which I hope you enjoy. And there's now over 220 videos out there for you to have a look at. So please enjoy them. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you.